Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King, our weekly exploration into music to stop you being bored. This week in music, the week that Axl Rose has been singing for AC/DC. Huh? Very strange. And I thought, surely it's going to be awful, isn't it? But apparently not. Apparently they've switched back to the original tuning, and apparently he's really good. The thing about Axl Rose, of course, famously, is that he's good on the first show, and then just wrecks his voice, and so maybe not. And he's also not running around, so maybe that's something to do with it. But it just surprises me that Axl Rose is a good singer, because if he's singing AC/DC at concert pitch, he's a good singer, and it sounds alright.
Interesting.
He is a bit of a wally though, isn't he? But anyway, we're doing something far more interesting than that boring 90s person and pretty cool 80s band. Or late 70s band. Yeah. We're doing Can. Okra. It's okra. I really hate okra. Do you like okra? I don't like it. I
call it okra. I don't know if that's right or not. It's very strange texture, isn't it? It sort of goes all gooey when you boil it up.
Yeah, and the weird shape is also a weird texture as well, makes it. Yeah, I've never liked it. It's alright, there's a tomato there though, so it makes it better. I like tomato, so that's fine. But yeah, I got this really late. So for years and years, I've got Tago Mago and Future Days, and they're the only albums I'd heard for many years. Only about 2 years ago I got this. It just made sense because it's the one in between the two. And I was really disappointed. This is probably controversial, because from what I've read on the internet, everyone thinks it's wonderful, and you like this or you like Tago Mago and whatever, you know. To me it sounds like outtakes from Tago Mago, and the fact that it's not really any different, and in many ways not as good for me, was very disappointing. So it's a meh album for me, but it does mean it's still good, because Outtakes from Tago Mago is good. It isn't Outtakes from Tago Mago, but it feels like that. Spoon was a single before the album. I think was actually a single. It was used as a TV theme, so it was actually a hit single. I think top 10 in Germany. Shorter tracks, and you could interpret this album as being an attempt to move into a bigger market with more accessible stuff, which would be fair enough. Maybe that's not the whole story actually, from what I've read, but that's how it feels. So it is the diet version of Tago Mago in many ways, and very similar.
Yeah. You think I would not have said this was more commercial? I mean, Tago Mago was like an interesting album, yeah?
Yeah.
It started off relatively straight actually.
Yeah.
And then sort of descended, which is why I rather cleverly compared it to Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
Yeah, the trip down the river. It's the Heart of Darkness and all that. Okay, yeah, so that was an interesting album. This one I would describe as challenging, because straight from the off you're sort of, okay, it's not very comfortable to listen to. There's nothing really straight about it. And Soup gets quite...
Yeah. Soup is the one.
It gets quite extreme in there, yeah. I mean, that was my impression of it.
Yeah.
It's actually, I mean, I started listening to it on normal set of speakers and I transferred to headphones. It actually much better as through the headphones as a listening experience, which was quite good.
Yeah.
Which I find with Nurse with the Wind actually sort of, it kind of amplifies the weirdness.
Yeah.
The avant-gardeness of it sort of gets a lot more cool. But it's nowhere near as good as Nurse with the Wind, and it's not as dark.
Yes.
As Tago Mago gets in places, and the bit that you like, the sort of the repeating samples, not so prominent. It just feels a bit very good for what it is, for that type of music. But I mean, who's going out of the way to listen to that type of thing? Very niche.
I suppose my complaint is not the length of the songs, because obviously there's a 9-minute one and there's a 10-minute one, but with the exception of Soup, most of it doesn't go anywhere. So whereas with Tago Mago, every song does stuff, happens. It's like each song is like one idea, and it plays and then it ends. I mean, Pinch is 9 minutes 28, but doesn't really go anywhere. It's just that idea, and they riff on that idea literally, and that's it. Where I mean, Soup is fantastic and would fit on Tago Mago for me. And I think really, but to be critical of that, I mean, if we just heard that in isolation, we'd be like, well, that's cool. But it obviously, you comparing it to that other album doesn't do it any favours for me. Not everyone agrees. I mean, reading around, some people think it's wonderful.
I would struggle to label it wonderful.
Yeah, I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
But it turns out it was quite a struggle to make, and they got their own. They changed studios because they got a bit more money. And I think they had like a theatre to themselves where they could live and have their own kitchen, and apparently the inspiration wasn't there. So maybe the success was a problem. Maybe, and they messing around playing chess basically and things like that, and then having to frantically make the music really quick at the end because they've run out of time. And I think that explains it. In that, we've got an idea, right? Play it, done. There it is, fine. Whereas obviously Tago Mago was this hugely creative thing of secretly recording the band and then splicing things and doing all sorts of weird stuff. And there's no evidence of that there. And apparently Spoon, the single, they didn't plan to put it on the album, but they did to make up the time because they just didn't have that much. And that's the only reason it's only 40 minutes, whereas Tago Mago is like 70 minutes or whatever it is. Because that's all the material they had. But Soup is excellent. I think I'm going to listen to it. This is a good album, and I skip tracks 2, 3, and 4 because I want to get to Soup. Because it goes places. Obviously, it starts off the same. It's the drummer does his thing. It starts a groove, but then stuff starts happening, and then oh my god, and then as it should, obviously.
I mean, you mentioned the drummer. I like the sound of the drums on this actually. I feel they sound a lot more natural. So like cymbals normally are, the sound of the cymbal is sacrificed normally on an album.
Yeah.
They chop it down.
Yeah.
Whereas on here it kind of it does that sort of swish thing, which is nice.
Yeah, and rare from that age. It's nice to have that without. There would be problems with distortion in those days. That's what it is.
But you're right. There's no sense of any development here. There's no sort of starting at Tago Mago, you do that. Then what do you do next? Yeah, where does it go here? And this doesn't feel like a progression from that.
Yeah, it's just carrying on. Yeah,
it's not even. Yeah, I mean it's carrying on, but not as without the finesse.
Yeah,
almost.
But yeah, so it is in a new studio, and that's probably the drums probably sound better. It's interesting though. The general sound of the band is the same. I suppose that's not really the studio. It's just what they sound like because they've got their unique thing they're doing. I think part of their main thing when they formed was no solos. And obviously what that means now is a different thing. It's who's the worst drummer in the world? What's his name?
Lars Ulrich.
Yeah, Lars Ulrich saying guitar solos have gone out of fashion, meaning just riffs and nothing else is just stupid and fashionista rubbish. That's not what this means. What they mean is it's all about the texture. Don't play a melody over the top. We're all playing the texture together, and that's that groove, that can sound. That's the basic thing, and so most of this is just that. Whereas Tago Mago, they'd do that, and then stuff would happen, and then they'd make it go weird and all that, and that doesn't happen as much on this. I suppose that's the point, but that's the point of the band. Yeah. Okay. So, Egy Bamyasi is apparently it's Turkish, or it means it's Aegean. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the western region of Turkey, Istanbul,
the Aegean,
right, area of Turkey. Their okra, it's their dish, which supposedly is a reference to their love of the traditional music. So I suppose it's interesting whether there is a traditional music influence in this stuff. You could argue that a world music thing. If that's what they're listening to, then it's going to be there, and the mantra-ness of the repeating drums and the loopness kind of comes from that. So maybe that was their point. Whether it's really influenced the music really is, don't know. Because it's kind of unique, isn't it?
I mean, it does feel like, you've got the can on there, and that's supposed to be funny, but it does feel very continental funny in the sense that not that funny.
Oh, Crushorton.
Or Crushorton.
Yeah, because they're called can, and they can, but it's a can.
Eastern German as well.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be allowed there. I mean, if you read reviews, the word you'll get is jazzy, and that's a really lazy way of not being able to describe something because it isn't. It has a swing, and it also has a groove, and it's improvisatory, but it's not jazz at all. Not really. It's not that kind of thing at all. It's much rougher, more natural feel. This isn't perfected. What's the word?
What we said last week to me, jazz is sort of, it has it's all about the structure. The structure holds the music together
Yeah.
with chord progressions, which all the musicians understand, and they're sort of
Yeah.
improvising on the basis of that. Whereas that's
It's more of a natural thing. They're not thinking as much. They're not reliant on knowledge and not reliant on technique as well. Obviously, there's guitar-y bends which can sound great, which jazzers would not like. It would be incorrect. But it's the same as the prog thing, isn't it? Oh, that's proggy days. Muse. Oh, the neo-prog. And I've read that often. You know, why are they neo-prog?
because they have long songs.
Yeah, because they're good. You know, everyone wants to call their own. As soon as the negative connotations of prog go away, the word sounds good. Progressive. I like this. So this is progressive. I think I've said this before, but I remember in the early 90s on internet message boards, rec music progressive was often invaded by like Nirvana fans because they were thinking that grunge thing. They called it progressive. Not like, because all old music, it's just hair bands, isn't it? That's all old rock music. And now this is new. Which is very strange. So yeah, it sounds good if you say jazzy, and it sounds good if you say proggy. So yeah, it is a really good album. Many people really like it. Soup is fantastic. It just doesn't have what Tago Mago has. It could have been, if I was told this was outtakes from Tago Mago, I could believe it. Because it's just bits.
Yeah, I agree. So what, egg-wise?
I mean, I was thinking 3 eggs, but that's slightly ridiculous. It probably should be 4, really.
Yeah, but I mean, four egg album is a good album, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You saying it's good, but I'd have to say there is a lot of merit in there, in the sense that it's completely different, off the wall. You know, you would not get a suit, look at this album and think, yeah, let's make that, we'll make loads of money off that.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, so Spoon was a single, you wouldn't think it was a single.
So, I mean, it has merit, but am I going to listen to it again? That's the question. And I haven't got much desire, I have to say, to listen to it again.
Yeah, I mean, is Tago Mago part of that, in that you're likely to listen to Tago Mago?
Definitely.
So there wouldn't be any point in listening to it.
No, that's true.
So on its own merit, maybe that's unfair, maybe, but you know, the eggs. If the eggs mean anything, which they don't really, but it's all about what it means to us, doesn't it? And it doesn't mean anything special to me, so it's a 3 egg album because it is a good album, but it's not.
I agree.
Yeah.
It kind of lives in the shadow of Tago Mago.
Right.
Tune in next week
For Future Dies by David Bowie.